ever envied TikTok influencers getting thousands of likes and gifts just for shaking their hips on camera? When you finally summon the courage to upload your own video, you're hit with a tidal wave of ridicule. Who does she think she is? You're so ugly and fat, it's nauseating to watch you dance. These venomous comments haunt you even when the phone is off. You feel eyes burning into your back on the street, whispering, mocking. The malice spreads to everyone you know until you stand on a rooftop, convinced that jumping is the only way out. Wait, don't jump. This isn't the end. Stop and look at the past life we're sharing today. Over 400 years ago, there was a nun in Bamberg, Germany. You thought the black habit would grant you God's protection, but because you refused the bishop's private audience, you were labeled a witch in league with the devil. This witch hunt mania lasted 300 years across Europe and the Americas, leading to over 100,000 accusations and at least 60,000 innocent souls wailing at the stake. What breaks you isn't the fire, but your own parents and friends trembling under torture as they testify that you are a witch. If you feel a searing heat in the words of cyberbullies today, it might be the embers of your past life's stake. Follow Maria's story and awaken that sealed, sorrowful memory.
AD 1628, Bamberg Convent. An era of the 30 Years' War, plagued by chaos. Your parents cherished you since childhood. Though humble merchants, they spent every penny to send you to the convent, the place closest to God and the safest refuge for a girl in that age. Your name is Maria. You remember your parents piously taking you to church, watching the bishop who saw you grow up smile as he accepted your father's donations, vowing that God would surely protect your entire family. Not long after entering the convent, just past your 20th birthday, the bishop hinted that you should provide a private blessing in the room of a Vatican representative from Rome. He didn't look at you as a cleric, he looked at you as a gift to be unwrapped. You knew exactly what would happen if you went, and you whispered in desperate prayer, "God, save me. Didn't you promise to protect our faithful family?" Outside, brutal shouting erupted, the signal of the Decoded Commission coming to arrest. This frenzy spread through German towns like a plague. In Bamberg, a body was burned every 2 days. You heard the cries of a fellow nun being dragged from the next room, your heart hammering against your ribs. You cried out to God, "If you are all-powerful, tell me, why has my daily devotion made me a witch in the mouths of demons?" You were dragged into the notorious Drudenhouse prison. There were no statues of the Virgin Mary, only the rising and falling wails of the damned. The Inquisitor thrust the Malleus Maleficarum before you, declaring, "She who sheds no tears is a witch." They shaved your head and drove long needles into your private parts to search for the devil's mark, the ultimate desecration of female dignity. After you had endured every torture, the cruelest moment arrived. They dragged your father before you, the man who had donated his entire fortune to the church. To force your confession, they dislocated his shoulders with the strappado right in front of your eyes. He looked at you with eyes of hollow despair and numbness, trembling as he said, "Yes, she too. I saw her dance with the devil." At that moment, you shrieked into the void, "My God, why are you silent? Are these demons in holy robes your servants?" The bishop stood by, sneering with a cold roar. "Impudent witch, slandering God even at death's door, you have finally shown your true form."
The bishop stood majestically on the high platform of the square, commanding the faithful as the firewood beneath the stake was piled high. You watched the believers you once treated with herbs and medicine, now waiting with savage excitement for the flames to rise. Tied to the stake, you looked out at the crowd hurling insults, stones, and sticks, including your own battered parents kneeling below.
You broke down, screaming mad curses at them. You prayed to God for these people to be slaughtered in war, consumed by famine, and withered by an incurable Black Death. You roared with every ounce of strength, desperate to hurl every vile curse you could imagine before you died. This frenzy across Europe and the Americas, from the 15th to the 18th century, used tens of thousands of women like you as scapegoats for economic collapse and natural disasters. You shrieked your curses until you smelled the scent of your own roasting flesh. Starving as you were, the pain eventually went numb. Before long, your soul drifted above, watching this absurd world as your curses continued to echo in the minds of the faithful. When the fire died out, the believers in the square dared not look at your charred remains. They knelt instead, praying to God to keep the disasters away. Among the crowd was a Jesuit priest, Friedrich Spee. He had watched hundreds of witches burn, a horror that turned his hair white overnight. Your curses echoed in his dreams every night until 1631, when he anonymously published Cautio Criminalis, systematically exposing the lies of the witch hunt logic. In it, he confessed that every testimony extracted through the tortures he witnessed was false. Not a single witch was guilty. This book circulated through Europe, becoming the turning point that finally ended the atrocity. But the 60,000 innocent souls could never return. 4 centuries have passed. Your curses seem to have vanished with history's other tragedies. The 30 Years' War is over. The Black Death is gone, and the literal hunting of witches has ceased. It seems we no longer use torture to force women to confess to sorcery and burn them at the stake. Yet, in 2026, descendants of these wronged witches still march in Lemgo, Scotland, and across the globe, demanding the Church revoke those baseless convictions, even if the perpetrators can no longer be punished. Forgotten history always repeats, just in a different skin. Today's social media bullying is in some ways more terrifying than the witch hunts. The comments from a smartphone keyboard are like the stones thrown at the woman on the stake, relentlessly striking the victim's soul until they break. Far too many young lives have failed to survive this. So, has the medieval witch hunt truly ended? Perhaps this demonic cycle has yet to close.
If you were God, what afterlife would you grant those 60,000 women murdered by the church and its priests? Would you let them be BBQ shop owners, enjoying the roast every day instead of being it? Would you let them be OnlyFans influencers with the courage to resist online bullying and profit from lustful men? Or would you let them become predator priests who abuse children to bring ruin upon the church's reputation? Why do you think God couldn't stop the atrocity then? Perhaps the perpetrators of those witch hunts were themselves retaliating for the grievances of their own past lives. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think God should do to make the world a little fairer?
Hey, still here? Enjoying the despair of your past life, aren't you? Did that past life make you shout WTF inside? If yes, welcome back. You've regained your memory. Trust me, you are so much happier now. Since you survived, support this down-and-out angel. Like and subscribe to keep the updates flowing. It won't send you to heaven, but it lets me stay here with you in hell. See ya.